Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires Belief Cast. Once again, I have an amazing guest and also a very good friend of mine, Laurie White. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're here bright and early. So I thank you for taking the time to do that. And listeners, you're in for a treat. This is going to be amazing today, and you're going to be inspired. I do have to also, again, give some thanks and a shout out to our sponsor, Veracity Networks. I want to thank them for all their support, and I want to thank all of you for your support. It's been wonderful. This has taken off. We're trending on iTunes. It just blows my mind, and it's not because of anything other than your support and the amazing guests that I have on. So like I said, I have Laurie White. She is the CEO of the Great Artist Program. It's an elementary art education curriculum for elementary schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those who know Laurie, she's an amazing artist, and she's passionate about it. And it's great. This program is helping teach kids all over the country to learn how to draw and to make them realize they can draw, right? She's a mother of 7 kids, which is amazing in itself. I mean, anyone who has kids would go, my hat's off to you. It's amazing.
I always tell people it's just more laundry and more food. That's, then.
Yeah, that's awesome. She has been involved in, volunteering in elementary schools and involved in that for over 24 years. Laurie's very passionate about what she does. If you guys, listeners who follow me, know that I actually had her brother on, Danny Kofed, a little while ago. He, you guys were all, the responses from him was, he's so energetic and so
awesome.
powerful. But Laurie is no different. She's very positive, powerful, speaks her mind. And when she sets her mind to something, she gets things done. And I'm just grateful to call her a friend. We love your family. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to hear your story today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so let's just tell us a little bit about, growing up with your family and with Danny. And just, talk about that and, what your childhood was like.
My childhood was awesome. Like, I look back on my childhood and think, man, I was lucky, really lucky. My parents are so cool. And I think I remember actually after Danny was on, I mean, I was like, wow, Mom and Dad, did you just hear that shout out? They're really awesome parents. So
Right.
I feel so blessed. And I really look back on childhood with rose colored glasses, and it was good. It was really good stuff. I grew up literally right above where we're speaking.
Yeah.
And my mom especially was just so good at, she was a hands-off parent. Like, I feel like everybody now, including myself, I don't want to be a helicopter parent, but I feel like I am in some ways. I feel like almost everybody is, and I think it's because we're more worried about the time and space that we live in, of all the dangers that could happen.
Sure.
Not necessarily the failures, but we're also into that too. Like, oh my gosh, my kids are going to fail, I have to jump in. But just danger in general. And back in the 70s and 80s, when I lived, a couple blocks from here, my mom was not worried about anything. This street right above us is 50 miles an hour, and it was back in the 80s. Right. And me and my friends and my siblings would ride our bikes on this street 50 miles an hour. And we're like, Mom, we're going to go to this swamp that we could probably fall in and drown. We're going to go to a swamp. We're going to catch tadpoles in buckets that we're going to hang from our bicycle handles. And then we're going to cross the 50 mile an hour 2-lane highway that leads to the gorgeous canyons by us. And we're going to come over to this barn that you and I are sitting in, and we're going to come pet and feed horses.
Wow.
I mean, I loved that. We also had this sandbox right above us. It wasn't a sandbox. It was empty lots.
Yeah.
There was, kind of some scary stuff there. There were people that had built kind of forts. And I mean, we would go catch lizards. And I mean, literally just like kind of idyllic, right? Just riding our bikes. And we had tons of scrub oak right above us. And just right here by the Wasatch Mountains. I just loved it. I loved my childhood, and I just had great parents and siblings. I'm the oldest of 4 kids.
Yep.
So me, my sister, my brother, Jimmy, and then Danny is the youngest.
How did you like being the oldest?
Well, I liked it because apparently, I mean, I think I take on that first child role.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure I'm sure I was bossy and,
Right.
they didn't like me being the first. I mean, they don't like me being bossy,
Sure.
as siblings. I think there was definitely conflict because of those,
Yeah.
birth order roles.
Right.
But I mean, I did like being the oldest. I'm a total pleaser, like
Yeah.
all like 99.9% pleaser. And I just wanted to please my parents so
Right.
bad. So my parents were really great examples. But they were not micromanagers. They weren't
Right.
they weren't all over you. My mom never asked about school, grades. Like, I mean, they trusted us.
Yeah.
And you felt that, but I don't know how I think some of the other siblings have felt the same way too, but I just felt this really strong desire to please my parents.
Right.
I'm the 5 love language thing. Forever I'm like, I don't know which one I am. I think I'm all of them. And I kept, thinking
Right.
and thinking and thinking. But as I've gotten older and just recently, I'm like, oh, I like words of affirmation.
Right.
I just do. I like to be, I'm trying so hard to be whatever, to be a good mom, to be a good wife, a good friend, a good teacher, just a good person in general. And I like that acknowledgement of you're doing a good job.
Yeah. Right.
So I was just driven to
Okay.
please my parents. Not that they were expecting or acting any
there was just a
differently.
part
It
of you
was
that wanted
completely my perception of my childhood was, I'm going to do things exactly like my mom and dad. I'm going to do really good in school. I'm going to do the best grades I can. I'm going to work to pay for college. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to get married at the same time my mom did. I'm going to have a baby the same time. And guess what? I did.
Wow.
I mean, I did.
I didn't know that.
got married, we got married exactly the same age. I had my first son exactly the same age as her.
That's awesome.
And that's what I wanted to do because I just really admired my parents.
Right.
And really loved them. But because she was hands off and because, it was like I think that built a lot of confidence in all of us, that we felt like we could do what we needed to, we could do what we were supposed to, and it was all on us. No one was pressuring us.
Yeah. Well, that's was going to be my next question, because people who know you, you're very confident. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You're not afraid to speak your mind. At the same time, you do want those words of affirmations and do the right thing. Where did that confidence come from? I mean, you're one of the most confident people I've met.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah.
I talked to her about this even as a kid. I'm like, how are you doing this? How are you raising us? How can I do this? And I literally, this is her favorite story. She said, when you were little, I would start out and I would give you a little task so that you felt like you could do it on your own. So this is what she did. We would be at the grocery store and I would ask if I could have a gumball. And she would say, okay, here's your money. And it's over there, kind of like around the corner. And as a little kid, you're like, oh, can you come with me? And she's like, you can do it. You can do it. And she would send us. And of course, she's watching.
Right.
We didn't know that.
Right.
We thought we were doing it on our own. She's totally behind the next count. She's watching every move. But we thought we were doing it on our own. I mean, and she did things like that intentionally to build confidence. So when we'd go over there, you'd put the money in, you'd kind of fiddle with it, turn it, it comes out. You're, oh, I did do it on my own. Oh my gosh, I'm so awesome. And then you'd come running back to find her. And she wasn't like, I mean, I'm jazz hands all the time. Oh my gosh, you're so awesome. She wasn't like that. She just, good job. Okay, let's move on. But she was a master at it.
Yeah.
Just was good at it, good at letting us do things. And if we said, hey, I really want to do this, she'd go, okay. It wasn't like, oh, you're not old enough. I don't think you can do that. That statement never came out of her.
Yeah.
And my dad is full of energy and he does more in one day than anybody I know.
Oh,
anybody I know.
Yeah.
Still, my mom.
I feel that way about you. I really do.
I've slowed down. I really have. I mean, I still look at my dad and go, oh my gosh, he's outdoing me. He's outdoing me. Like, he's like 70 something and he's outdoing me. I mean, he's like a 77-year-old in like a 50-year-old body.
Yeah.
And mindset. So he just gets so much done. He's also confident that he can do anything.
Right.
My mom is just more practical, and I feel like she was really intentional about how she was trying to build confidence and
Right.
how she was trying to just raise these confident and responsible, moral individuals.
Right.
She'd also give you these moral lessons without trying to. She was just good at it. I don't know
Yeah.
how she did it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to be just like her. And I don't know that I've done as good of a job as her as far as that stuff goes. I think I little bit more worry and fear into my parenting.
Right.
And I'm bummed because I just am like, how did she do that?
Right.
And then you've got my dad on the other hand, who literally like, hey dad, can you do this? Or can you do that? Yeah. Any question, he just makes up the answer, which I totally take after him. I mean, Aaron, my husband, and my mom, they look at each other occasionally with these knowing looks like, oh, brother, like we're married to these two. Like I'm very much like my dad in this, sure, oh, sure, I can do anything and I don't need directions.
Right.
So that's not always the best thing. And occasionally I'll answer a question and he'll go, do you know that? Or is that just co-fed confidence? That's what he calls it.
Yeah.
Co-fed confidence.
Yeah.
And
Danny
they joke about it.
Danny mentioned that as well.
Mentioned that,
he mentioned that as well. And you do. You're a very confident person, and that's a gift. I mean, and it sounds like it was cultivated from stuff that your mom was even teaching you when you really realized you weren't even being taught.
Yeah.
Like,
for
hey,
sure.
go get it yourself, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I think that's great advice for any parent is to do things like that to help build confidence. Because when we're like, no, you can't do that, that's too scary.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is we're teaching our kids that, the fear-based, kind of thing. Yeah. Go ahead and cross that road that's 50 miles an hour. Go get those tadpoles and whatever.
She's like, be back at 6 for dinner. See
ya.
ya.
And I think things were different back then too. Because,
She didn't take us aside and go, now listen, those cars are going fast and da-da-da-da-da-da. She just trusted that we would be, smart about it. And I think too, this whole confidence thing and jumping in, I think that it also helps that I'm not a perfectionist at all.
Right.
People think I am. People assume artists are perfectionists. I'm not. I'm an impressionist. I'm not a realist.
Yeah.
I think that when you're willing to jump in and go, sure, I can do that. I'm okay with failing. I'm okay with like good enough. I'm okay with, oh, well, that wasn't what I thought, but that's fine. Right. I'm very easy about moving on, and I'm not shattered if it didn't turn out exactly how it is. Right. I kind of go, oh, well, I guess that's the way it was supposed to be, or I could have put more effort into it. So I think that just jumping in and even answering questions or whatever. And if someone said, hey, that's not right, it's actually this way, I go, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not worried about, I only have one shot. Yeah. So that's not entering my head ever. I'm like, oh, I can do that again, or I can be okay with whatever I did.
Whatever
and go,
happened.
Okay, that's good. Let's move on. So I think that helps. I think that helps to be able to jump into whatever situation because I'm not paralyzed by fear that I have this one chance and I'm going to do it wrong. I'm going to blow it. So then I'm more willing to just jump in and try it.
That's awesome. When did you realize that you were passionate about art?
Oh my gosh, my whole life.
Really?
Yeah. And again, I've got to give a lot of credit to my mom here. She saw in me as a little kid. I mean, I was drawing at 3, but at 4 years old, I started to draw. I mean, every 3-year-old starts to make representational drawings, and you're doing circles with arms sticking out of the circle saying this is a person.
That's how I still draw, by the way. I'm serious.
I bet you've made it more to a 10-year-old level like most people, but everybody starts out that way. Yeah. I mean, that's the developmental stages of drawing. We start out with these representational blobs with arms and say, Mom, this is me and you. So I was doing that, but by 4, I drew a giraffe at 4. I mean, she remembers this more than I do, Right. I still have the drawing, but I drew this giraffe and she thought, oh, wow. I think she maybe has more than just average kid drawing. Right. And she wanted to make sure that she was going to do something about it for me. And so she bought this book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And she read it, and she read about creativity, and she really tried to encourage me. And when I was a little bit older, she looked for classes to put me into.
Okay.
And when I was kind of a preteen, I can't believe where she drove for me and my siblings. Like, I mean, every mom does that. Every
Right.
mom does that. But my driving is literally all within 7 miles of my house. All my carpooling. And I'm like, whew, I'm lucky. And if there was longer carpooling, my husband's like, I'll drive them to Provo or Bountiful. I'm like, good, because I didn't want to,
Right.
but my mom, she would take me to this art school. She'd drive my brothers to karate. She was really great about helping us. My sister did dance, and she just really encouraged everybody where we wanted to go and where we wanted to be passionate. She was great, just like every mom. I mean, I feel like that's every mom really wants to help your kids, but
Right.
I'm really grateful that
Sure.
she recognized in me that was something that I loved, and that she really made sure that I got the opportunities to grow my talent.
Yeah. Well, you're very talented there, and I'm looking forward to talking more about your program and your company, the Great Artist Program. We'll get to that in a minute, but
Okay.
I want to talk about, you graduated from BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that time in your life and what was going on, and then what led up to you meeting your husband, Aaron,
Okay.
and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. So I went to BYU, and I was just sure that I was going to go there and be an artist. I think I really wanted to kind of be in the fine art department, but I got the dinkiest scholarship you've ever heard of, $250 for one semester. Right. I opened this letter. You've been awarded a scholarship. And I was like, oh my heck, this is so great. $250 towards my first semester of BYU. And it was in the design department, not the fine art department. And I thought, well, that's okay, because I actually wanted to be a children's book illustrator. So I think that's interesting. I mean, I knew I had this love for art, but I really, really love illustrating. I love fine art.
Right.
I love fine art. I love to appreciate it. I love museums. I love learning about artists, but I love children's book illustrations.
Right.
And I had started collecting children's books kind of in my teenage years. And I just would pore over the illustrations. So I was like, okay, well, that's good. Yeah. Great. I'll go to the design department and I'll be a children's book illustrator. This is perfect. This is a great trajectory for my life. Well, within the very first semester, every time I met someone, whoa, what are you studying? What are you here for? And so many people said, oh, I'm doing elementary education. And every single time I said, oh, that's what I would do if I wasn't doing design. And after saying it so many times, I thought, am I doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Am I doing the right thing? And I also didn't love the design department, because being a designer or a commercial artist is very different than being a fine artist. When you're in that commercial, other people are saying, this is what I want you to do, and you have to do it my way. And as far as art's concerned, that does not fly with me.
Right.
That is a special talent. These graphic designers, these people, they know, like, they're working for a client and they're doing what the client wants. And when I think about art, I'm expressing what I want to express. Not when someone told me to, or they say, you need to change this and this. And I'm like, no way. Like, that's how I saw it,
Right.
So I was like, I don't know if this is the best fit for me. I don't like to be told. I'm a pleaser, but I don't actually, who likes to be told what to do? Nobody. So,
Right.
So, I really thought, and prayed hard, like, am I on the right path? And just really felt compelled that I was supposed to teach young children. And I immediately switched my major. I mean, in the second semester at BYU, and I know that's what I was supposed to do. So I did early childhood and elementary education, because I wanted to have the opportunity to teach kindergarten. Okay. If you want to teach kindergarten, you have to have the early childhood, because I thought, when I'm a mom and I have kids and I want to go back to school one day, like, I'm going to teach now, have a family, and then go back, then I could do half-day kindergarten. That was kind of my master plan.
Right.
So I'll get both these degrees so that I have the opportunity to teach wherever I need to.
Yeah.
But I really wanted, I love all kids, but I love little kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I did. And then I taught first grade.
That's right.
And
I remember that.
I was expecting my first child the entire year that I was teaching first grade.
Oh, wow. That's a challenge, right?
Yeah. And it was such a good learning experience, and just a, it was hard and difficult. And for the first time ever, I felt like I was failing, and it was very difficult for me. I had just kind of gone through like, oh, I'm pretty good at what I'm trying to do so far, school, or my effort is going to equal, the grades I want or whatever. And being a teacher and having 26 kids, I was so worried that I wasn't doing enough. That was the first time I had felt those feelings of, am I doing enough?
Right.
And it was scary for me. And first graders have a lot of development that they have to go through. And so finally, by about February, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're getting it. They're reading. They're,
right.
and I was like, okay, they're going to make it. I was so worried that the next year, second grade, they'd show up and they'd all be in resource, and they'd go, who did you guys have last year? And all 26 of them, Mrs. White. I was so worried that I wasn't giving them what they needed, but it turned out to be, a great year, a great learning experience. And then at the end of the year, I had my first child, and then I have been home for the past 24 years with my kids. And then from that, I was able to combine my love of teaching, my love of art, and I've actually been an art teacher for the past 22 years.
Right.
As a stay-at-home mom, I've been able to turn that education experience and learning and my love of art into my side job and my passion.
Yeah. And I know that you've, through that time too, even before the Great Artist Program, you were teaching out of your home. You'd have kids come every week to your house. You'd even teach at the local elementary school. You'd go do classes there. And and we all saw that just growing up too around you and seeing you doing all that. And so obviously you have a love for this and a passion.
I love it. I love it. I look at the calendar still. So this will be my 19th year. I think I'm starting my 20th year volunteering at our elementary school.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, when you have 7 kids, you're at elementary school for a long time, right?
Yeah,
a long time.
For sure.
And, oh gosh, I hope I don't cry. This is my last year. My youngest is in 5th grade, and our district decided to put 6th grade in middle school, which I'm still so mad about.
I know that. I heard they switched that.
They switched it a while ago.
Yeah.
And I'm mad because I want to stay in elementary school forever.
Right.
And so this is my last year, and everyone's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do when all your kids grow up? And I was like, don't worry. I'm not moving on. My kids will move on. I will stay here at elementary school. I love being able to inspire those kids. I love to take any kid, and I love to teach teenagers too in my home. I still do teens. I just love to sit down next to someone and teach them and have them go, oh, I didn't know I could do this. I'm like, I know. Look at what you just did. You're so awesome.
Yeah.
Look, you're an artist. And it never gets old. Ever. I look at the calendar and I go, oh, good. I'm volunteering today. I never once have been like, oh, no, I have to go to school ever. Not once. And every single time I come home, my husband goes, how was it? I'm like, the best. I absolutely love being there and helping and teaching and encouraging. And it fills my cup so much that I never tire of it, ever.
Well, that's the beauty of your Great Artist Program, and because you're doing exactly that. You're showing anyone can be an artist, and you make them realize, oh, I can do this, and you empower these kids to go and to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And it spills over not just from art, it spills into their life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Where they start believing in themselves.
I love it.
So talk about your program. Her program is amazing, folks. I'm not kidding you. She's inspired over 500,000 kids across the country. Her program's all over the country. So let's talk about this and, just that. Like, what's it all about?
Oh, gosh, I love this. Okay, so when I had just 2 small children, I started teaching in my home and realized, wow, this is so great to put my 3 passions, right? Kids, I love kids.
Right.
I just do.
Yeah.
Kids, I love to teach, and I love art. So this is just the perfect fit for me to spend my free time. And when my kids started elementary school, I was so happy to be back in the elementary school zone.
Right.
I just walk into any elementary school and smile. I just love the feeling of it. I love to be there. It was so fun to be back in elementary school. And I could not wait to volunteer and say, hey, how do you need me? You know, I am passionate about all of this. I'm a former teacher. I love kids. I'm so happy to be here. What can I do for you?
Right.
So that first year, you know, I was correcting spelling tests and just, you know, showing up. I was the room mom, whatever, you know, just happy to be there. The second year in with my first kid, I went to the teacher and said, hey, I am so willing to do whatever you need me to do. And if you want me to correct spelling tests, I will. But if you would like me to come in and teach art once a month, I would love to do that. I wasn't seeing any art come home with the kids. I wasn't seeing any art. All I was seeing was like holiday craft projects or just kind of really simple, just the bare basics.
Coloring with pudding.
Yeah. Like here, you know, like here's some materials, here's some crayons, do whatever you want. Not directional art. And I'm a big believer in, I call it guided drawing. Some people call it directed drawing. Excuse me. I'm a really big believer in kids are inherently creative and they want to create, but only a couple. So if you took a classroom of kids, let's say 25 kids, there would be 2 kids in that class who already know that they're an artist. And they have enough confidence that if you gave them paper and pencil and crayons and said, hey, make something awesome, they would go, oh, I know what I'm going to do. And they would start doing it. But the rest of the kids they go, oh, I want to be an artist and I want to create. And it's so fun to use all these materials, but I'm not sure what I should do. And they look around and they just go, oh man. And they revert back to what the only thing they've been shown. Every single kid knows how to draw the house with that really fat tree trunk and the, you know, squiggly tree line and the smoke coming out of the stack and a sun in the corner, which is my biggest pet peeve of all time.
Well, you wouldn't like any of my drawings now because I do that to this day. If I was to honestly draw, Laurie, I'm not kidding. That's what it would look like. Sun up in the corner, little house with some smoke coming out of the chimney.
And you can draw that because somebody showed you how. It's not that everyone comes, you know, it's not that everyone is born knowing how to draw a house with a smokestack and a sun in the corner.
You learned
That's what someone showed you. What should I draw? Well, here, let me show you. You can draw this really simple house using simple shapes, and we're going to put the sun in the corner. So that's why everyone does that, because that's what they were shown.
Yeah.
So if that's the whole thing, hey, I just have to show you, and then you can do it. You can show the kids how to draw the Mona Lisa, and they can do it. Yeah. I remember teaching one of my kids' first grade classes, the Mona Lisa. And the kids were like looking at me like,
are you crazy?
She nuts? Yeah. She thinks we can draw this. They're literally looking around each other like, who is this lady? There's what?
Yeah.
What? What is even, you know, what is the Mona Lisa? They were just kind of like, I can't believe you're going to have us do this. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I know this looks like a big deal. And this is the most famous painting in the entire world. And you guys are 6 and 7 years old. And guess what? I'm going to help you draw this. And they're like, what? Yeah. And then, you know, I'm like, we're just going to take it one line, one shape at a time. And within about 10 minutes, you literally can draw the basics of anything. Everyone can draw an oval, right? And this is how I start out with the young kids. And I'm real cheesy. Right. I'm real cheesy because I taught first grade and I'm, you know.
Well, it might be cheesy in the sense of an adult hearing you or whatever, but the kids love it.
They love. So I'm like, raise your hand if you can draw a circle. Yeah. Touch your nose if you can draw a wavy line. Wiggle your fingers if you can draw a straight line. Can you do all those things? And they're like nodding their head. I'm like, then you can draw the Mona Lisa. Yeah. And then we do. And these are the kids going, oh my gosh, I'm an artist. And my own son came home and then cousins came over and he goes, hey, do you want me to teach you how to draw the Mona Lisa? He was 6. And because it was such an experience of confidence building for him, because he sat there and he watched and I directed him with the simplest instructions, then we built on one line, one shape at a time. And he came up with the Mona Lisa. Then it's like filed into your head.
Yeah.
And it's not just because you were shown, but it's because you felt good about yourself.
Right.
And you had confidence and you went, oh, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like clink in your head. And now his cousin is over and he's like, hey, get a piece of paper. I'm going to show you how to draw the Mona Lisa. And
man.
so, I mean, that's the experience. So I kind of jumped ahead, but
No, that's
anyway, yeah, I mean, that's why it was so fun. So I was doing this in my own children's classes. So I'd go, okay, hi, I'm Mrs. White, and I'd like to teach art unless you need me to correct spelling tests. And word kind of got around like, oh my gosh, if you have Laurie White, she will come and teach art. So after being there for just a little while, I had the first couple of my kids kind of close together. So at this point, I probably already had I had a third grader and a first grader, and and then almost someone coming into kindergarten and someone right after them. And so they were kind of like, okay, there's a lot of kids who are going to come through, and Laurie's going to be art teacher if you get her kid in your class. So the principal came to me and said, I love what you're doing in your children's classes, and these students are benefiting so much, and the teacher's so appreciative that you're going to come in there and teach a real art lesson.
right.
Is there any way that you can do this for the whole school? Can we brainstorm? How can every classroom in the school be getting this same type of direction without us hiring you? Art teachers were kind of non-existent. They are coming back. There's more art teachers now than there was, especially we're talking Utah. There was in the West, Utah, California, Texas, Nevada, Colorado, Idaho, like no art teachers. East Coast, art teachers. I don't think they've ever gotten rid of art teachers. But on the West Coast, we lost money for education. Art's the first thing to go. And so we're looking at all these schools with these awesome teachers who are doing the best they can, but without art instruction.
Right.
And as a teacher, if you don't feel that confidence yourself, like I can teach art, your kids need it, but you're not sure how to get it to them. Right. So there's this loss of art.
What do you do?
And it's so important, and it goes into every aspect, math and building, and not only confidence, but spatial relations. And there's just so many studies out there that say how important it is, that we need it, but it wasn't there.
Yeah. And I would add that belief piece.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason why I call this a belief cast, because I'm passionate about belief systems. And, some kid drawing the Mona Lisa, and I've actually seen those pictures, these young kids, and you put up on, I think it was like almost a display in your home of all these pictures of the Mona Lisa at one time. This was years ago. And I was like, 5th and 6th grader kids drew these.
And first grade.
And even younger. And I was so blown away, but how that teaches them to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
That belief system I can only imagine.
And that's literally my favorite outcome. Yes, I can give you the stats. Yes, I can tell you why art's important. Yes, I can tell you, here's my mission statement. Here's what we're trying to do. But my very favorite byproduct of teaching art to kids is confidence.
Yeah.
I love to see their face light up and go, I'm awesome. I'm good. I can do this. And especially in a classroom where not everyone's good at academics. Not everyone's succeeding at math. Not everyone's even succeeding at behaving well throughout the day. And you walk in there and you're like, hey, I'm here to do art. And there's this audible like, oh, I'm going to be so great for the next hour. Yeah. I'm not going to be great at she thinks everything I do is awesome. And that it's genuine. I'm not trying to just blow butterflies in everyone's faces. Everything you do, how you want to express it, how you decided to do the project, color it in from the beginning to the end is okay.
Yeah.
You are the artist of your paper. That's one of my taglines. That's what I teach, people to say to the kids. Yeah. I want them to not compare themselves to other people, to not think theirs is better or worse, but to just go, wow, look what I just did. Yeah. And that's my very favorite byproduct of Great Artist Program.
Well, I want to point out that's the beauty here. So you were taught confidence as this young girl from your mom and your dad, obviously, as well. But as you grew up, you realize how great this confidence is and what it's done for your life. And now it's like you're giving it away now. You're giving away this confidence to all these kids now. And no wonder you love it.
It's the best.
But what I love about it is when we have a gift or a talent, when we give it away, we become twice as powerful in that gift.
Oh, absolutely.
And so And here you are doing it, weekly and weekly. Now you've got this great artist program that, now is a program that a school can actually buy, correct?
Yes.
And then they take that, and now their whole school can do this program, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that piece, and then
Okay.
we're going to move on from that.
Okay. So when the principal came and said, how can you do this? I said, well, I still have little kids. I probably will still have more kids, which I did. I can't come and teach right now, but I could get a parent volunteer for every classroom. And I'm going to take moms and dads if they're willing. And sometimes we have grandmas show up.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a parent who's not an educator, who is not an artist, and I'm going to teach them how to teach kids to do art. And that's my model. And so I went and presented this to all the teachers at my school, and I said, here's my idea. I'm going to get a parent volunteer for every classroom. I'm going to have a meeting. I'm going to break down my lesson plans in really easy instructions.
Right. Mm-hmm.
My teachers all kind of gave me input. We don't want this. We don't want that. We can only do an hour. We only want it once a month, And so I took all those parameters and I said, I'm going to take really cute, enthusiastic parents.
Right.
And I'm going to give them the confidence to go into the classroom and be the art teacher.
Wow.
So not only do we get to inspire kids, which is so great, my parent volunteers, I call them art champions.
Yeah, I love that.
I love them. And this program couldn't work without art champions at every elementary school. I've got these parents who feel very passionately, our school needs art. My kid needs a good art experience, and we don't have it. And I'm not an artist, and I'm not a teacher, but I'm passionate, and I know we need this. And I'm like, that's all we need. You're an art champion. We're going to get this at your school. Usually a PTA purchases the program because it's usually run through the PTA.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have hired a teacher just for this, and the principal will purchase it. So basically a school will purchase my program, and I have training videos so that every parent volunteer who's ever going to be the art teacher that day for that classroom gets to watch a 10-minute video, and they go, okay, I can do this. I can go in there and I can teach kids and I can make a difference. And then they get to go into the classroom and the kids cheer and go, oh, she's here. We're going to be, yay. And she teaches them how to draw and compose a masterpiece. Yeah. We're looking at a masterpiece every month, a different masterpiece, a different artist. Mm-hmm. We're learning all the good stuff, but most of all, we're learning how to draw. And that's where the magic comes of feeling confident. Yeah. And then we're coloring it in with whatever medium. So as I did this at my school, it was a great success. We love it. And then other schools started to say, hey, are you going to sell this? And I was kind of like, oh, I just like being a volunteer. I'm happy to do it for free. I'm happy to, this is the way I'm going to kind of benefit my community.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking to be a small business owner. My husband is a real entrepreneur.
For sure.
He has better follow through than anyone on the planet.
No
He's
doubt.
Extremely supportive. You know this.
Oh yeah.
He's awesome.
He is amazing.
He saw the opportunity and said, hey, I'm not a business person. I'm an idea person. I'm a motivator. I'm a teacher. I'm not numbers. I'm not follow through. That's not my best. Those are not my strong suits. But my husband, we're a really good team. Those are his strong suits.
Right.
And he was like, I think we should do this. And I'm just like, oh, let's just do this and this. He's like, no, let's make an actual business. Let's hire someone to brand the company. Let's have a website. Let's do this and this so that it's professional. Let's really actually do it. And we jumped in, just kind of half professional just for the first couple of years. And as we saw that the schools in Utah, surrounding us, we're like, we love this. This works. It works without Laurie there. It works at a different school, and we're watching her videos, and we're able to run the program successfully, with just watching these videos and being trained. And so then we did go professional and opened it up so that we could sell it across the US. And it's just been so awesome.
Yeah.
It's been so awesome to be able to teach and inspire. And I love being able to also help the parents.
Right.
I really want to be someone who will help the parents see, any parent that goes, I really want art in my kid's life. And then I can say, hey, you can do that. And it doesn't matter what your background is. The fact that you want it for your kid, that's all you need.
That's all you need, yeah.
And I want to help give you the tools to be able to be that art mom for your kids and be able to inspire your kids even at home. I have a YouTube channel and it's called Great Artist Mom. And it's not because I'm tooting my horn saying I'm so great as an artist mom. It was more to say great artist mom. I want every mom out there to go, I can teach my kids art.
Right.
And so I'm trying to give the tools to parents so that we can get to as many kids as possible.
I love it.
And be able to teach them that everyone's an artist and everyone has something to contribute. And whatever they create is awesome and good because they did it.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. And the program's amazing. And there's so many more questions I'd like to ask you around that. But I do want to shift gears just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a mom of 7 kids, which in itself is amazing. You're an amazing mom. Aaron's an amazing dad. And you guys, honestly, if you guys know these two, that they throw more parties, they do more things, they travel, they love spending time with family and kids, and you have amazing kids. All of them are amazing.
I love them. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about that, just being a mom and what that's like with 7 kids. And then there's also been some struggles with a couple of your kids. Well, probably all of them, obviously on some level.
Hey, parenting is not for the faint of heart.
It's not. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I love being a mom so much. So I'm the oldest, like I said. Mm-hmm. And when I was 8 when Danny was born. So there was 4 kids,
Mm-hmm.
We were all about 2 years apart around there. And when I was about 10, some of our best friends, they were having their 5th. And I was begging my mom, like, please, please, please have another baby. Because as much as I adore Danny, like love him, he was a pill. Sorry, Danny. He knows it. He was a pill. He did not want to be cuddled. He did not want to be held. He wanted to be an only child. He did not want any of us near my mom. And he wouldn't let me. I was a baby lover from the beginning. Yeah. I have loved little kids and kids in general. And I'm just a connector.
Right.
And I just wanted to ooh and goo over him and baby him and mother him. And he would not allow it at all. And I begged my mom, have another baby. Have another sibling. This kid is not letting me hold him or play with him or anything. And she was like, oh, I'm done. You'll have to have your own. And I literally from that night on prayed every night, please, please let me be able to have children. Let me have a family. Let me have a lot of children. I just really wanted that experience. And I had a really good friend. I had a friend all through high school and he had a big, huge family. And I thought it was the best. I absolutely loved being around this big, giant family with all these siblings and all these kids and thought, that's what I want. That's what I want. And when Aaron and I, got to the point of dating where you're talking marriage and talking, hey, let's be together forever and let's get married and let's have a family. You talk about like, how many kids do you want? And we were both like, 7. 7 sounds good. Who does that, when they're 20 something? We totally both were like 7 would be great.
Yeah.
And so we started out with that in mind. Like, let's have 7 kids.
Oh.
And and they, they're about 2 years. I mean, some of them are less than 2 years apart. There's a couple, there's a 3.5 space between number 5 and 6. And when we got 6 kids, then we had to move up from the minivan. Like we had the minivan and then you had to go to the Suburban, right?
Right.
And Aaron's looking at Suburbans and he's all, well, they have 8 seats, but there's a 9-seater with a seat in the middle. Are we really going to have 7 kids? Or can we let's just have 6 because we'll fit in the Suburban. What in the world would we drive if we had 7 kids, And I mean, at the time I'm 8 months pregnant with number 6, right?
Right.
And so at that point I was like, oh gosh, maybe we will just have 6 kids. But in the back of my head, I was like, well, I know that most people don't plan on having a caboose. Like when they're 40, most people don't, that's not a planned. That's the surprise, right?
Right.
Well, I was like, I think I was around 35 when I was having 6 kids. And I was like, you know what? It'd be so great to have 6 kids and then have a little bit of a break. And then just kind of right before you're like, you know what? We should probably be done having kids.
Right.
I'll just I'll have a surprise on purpose. I'll have a caboose. This was my thinking. You know what? Sure, Aaron, sure. 6 kids is good. In the back of my head, I'm like, and then in about 5 years when I'm like, oh, I want one more baby, I'll have another baby.
Yeah.
But instead, that other baby, I found out I was pregnant when number 6 turned 1. Nope. Guess what? Guess what?
Surprise.
You are having 7 and he's coming right now.
Wow.
And it was awesome. And
Yeah.
it was meant to be, because then I got cancer, and I got cancer at 39, and I could not have had that. I couldn't have had that planned surprise at 40.
Right.
He came when he was supposed to.
Yeah.
And he is special needs, and we can't imagine life without
For sure.
number 7.
Yeah.
He really completes our family. And so, anyway, that's kind of how the 7 kids got there.
Gotcha.
And so our oldest was 14
Mm-hmm.
when we had number 7. They're actually, their birthdays are the same week. So a 14-year-old and a baby. And I was like, yes, we did it. We did it.
Yeah, you did it all right. Yeah.
And it's a lot.
Sure.
And it's awesome. And I'm so grateful. And I think when everyone's under 12, life is my little kids were easy.
Yeah.
My little kids were easy. They didn't throw tantrums. And I'm not saying like, I just, different kids are different kids. I had a lot of just really easygoing kind of pleasers back then. And people didn't care about what cup they had or what color. And I'm like, hurry, get in the car. And, so for a long time I was like, man, this isn't too hard. This is not that, Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of busyness and it's a lot of diapers. And by the way, I'm still changing diapers.
Yeah.
It's been 24 years and 3 months, and I'm still changing diapers. And one day, our cute this number 7, one day he's going to get it, but we're still doing diapers. Anyway, I still kind of look back and go, I wish everyone was 12 and under, like for the next 20 years. I kind of want to stay in the young mom, young kid realm, because I think it's easier.
Yeah.
And so then as people got older and harder, and also just they started saying, hey, I'm going to do what I want, not what you want, then parenting took a shift. And it's been really hard for me to change my thinking and grow up with my kids instead of me kind of feeling like I'm throwing a little bit of a tantrum, going, I liked it better when everyone was little and listened to me and did what I asked him to and went to bed at 8 and believed in Santa Claus and watched family movies together. That was really awesome. Yeah. And I kind of mourn the loss of that. And I know that I have to grow up and I have to be a mom of older kids. Yeah. And I love my older kids. But it's been hard for me to switch gears. You have to completely switch your parenting style. Right. And if you have this many kids, you're switching it earlier on, and I'm still having babies and toddlers while my other kids are moving on to the teenage years. And that really stretched me out. For sure. And it has been way harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah. And, let's talk about that too, because as the kids get older, they get, each kid kind of has their own personality. They kind of do their own thing. And you had a couple kids who have struggled with drug addiction and that kind of thing. Let's talk about that and how you've been able to deal with that and cope with that. And I know that's a big question because there's a lot there.
It's a big question.
So
and it's been a really long time. And I feel like I'm in a good place now.
Right. And that's why we're talking about it maybe now. And this is why we're here. But there was a time where, this was a very difficult thing for you and Aaron to go through, to watch a couple of your kids struggling in this realm. I'm glad you're willing to talk about it, because a lot of our listeners have kids who are struggling with addiction, or they've struggled themselves, or they're still struggling and they're trying to figure this all out. And so it'd be great to get your perspective as a mom who loves kids so much, but at the same time seeing some kids going through some really tough times.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. This has been way harder than cancer.
Yeah. which we failed to even mention. You're a cancer survivor, which we can
Yay.
get into as well. But
Yeah.
let's talk about
And
this.
interestingly enough, the cancer and the special needs son and the teenagers as they started to move into experimenting and with drugs and kind of starting down this path that was so scary and fearful for us was all at the same time.
Right.
It was all the exact same year.
Wow.
And I just think, the things come in threes. When it rains, it pours, all that type of stuff. But also we have challenges given to us, and you think, I can't do that. And you can.
Yeah.
Whatever challenge comes, your first initial response is fear. I think that's the most natural human response when something's really frightening and scary, and you think, are you kidding me? I can't do this. I'm not up to this challenge. There's fear and doubt that come in very first. And it's very hard. It's really hard to initially see past that.
Right.
And that's exactly what we felt. I think fear was the utmost emotion in the forefront of our brains as we saw this trajectory of our two older boys. What's going to happen to them? Are they going to, or is their life ruined? Are they going to be okay? Are they going to die? Will they live? Will they make it through? We had all these expectations and hopes and dreams, and are any of those going to happen? And especially when they're so young still, they're under your own roof. Your job as a parent is to protect them, to teach them. You're trying to show them, listen, this is the way that you are going to be able to be function, to learn, to grow, to have the very best experiences at your feet. Mm-hmm. We're giving you this little pathway of, if you do this, then you will be whatever, fill in the blank, successful, happy,
right.
Whatever. And they're still these young kids. Their brains aren't developed. They are not adults. And you see them on this trajectory, and it's so frightening of what's going to happen next.
Yeah. How
How is this going to affect their entire rest of their life?
Right.
So our very first emotion is fear.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you go through everything, anger and, disappointment and all these things. So I've seen this, and I had seen other people deal with it. But when you're going through it, you think you're the only one. Yeah. And at the time, in all of my close friends, in my group of friends and circle of friends, and I know a lot of people, and I have a lot of connection with a lot of people, and I love to surround. I have a large group of friends, not because just because I love people. So I'm saying in this kind of rather large circle group of friends community, I felt like I was the only one going through this. And so there was also some shame involved, and blame. What did I do wrong? Is this my fault?
Which, by the way, is pretty common. One of the parents I've talked to in doing this for a long time is they get to that idea in their head, like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Is it my fault, kind of thing?
I think the first thing for sure was fear, and then it goes to blame. Whose fault is this?
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Who can I blame for this thing that's happening to my family, to my children? And none of those things serve anybody.
Right.
That does not serve anybody. It did not serve me. And I was there. I can't say like I got right out of it. I was there for a while. Me and my husband were there for a while. But it did not serve us, and it definitely did not serve my children.
Right.
And so I'm going to cry. So we had Todd. We had you, and we had my brother, Danny. And your love for our boys, your personal experience and knowledge, and then my brother's ability to put the fear, keep saying, put the fear aside, put the negative aside, and focus on the positive and look forward with faith and hope of, this experience and what it's going to teach you and how much you love your boys and think of that. So with you and him giving us advice like weekly, and it took a long time.
Yeah.
It took a long time, but the difference, I'm trying to be cohesive here. So with your help and advice and with my brother, kind of arming us, it was enough to help us try to break down the fear. And especially for my boys' sake, I had to shed the disappointment. I had to.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wasn't right in the same room with them, I was worried. I was fearful. I was mad. And we would say, okay, let's go talk to these boys. And I'd be so mad. And then we would pray together and ask for God's help.
Mm-hmm.
And each time that anger would go away, and the fear would go away, and we were just filled with love for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell by the way, instead of me being like, you just ruined all my plans and what I thought,
yeah,
I could look at them and see them and love them and see how much they were hurting. And then I was able to be filled with compassion. Instead of being bummed for me, this isn't what I wanted or expected, I could put my feelings aside and I just would look into their face. And I would have so much compassion and love for them and think, what in the world can I do to help you? How can I help you not only just make it through alive, and I don't think they had as much fear as I did of them like dying, or these, kids think they're,
invincible,
indestructible, and they're like, Mom, this is not that big of a deal. But as a parent, you're fearful for everything. But I would look at their faces, and they can read us so well. And if they saw fear or shame or disappointment, I could see it in their faces. Mm-hmm. And that was making their problem worse. They felt so bad. And it took a while, but I just really tried so hard to think, if they could look at me and just see love, and if they could also see understanding, and especially if they could see, I believe in you and I love you no matter what, I am going to take my expectations off the table. I'm going to take my disappointment off the table, and I am just going to focus on you and cheer you on to be who you need to be, and to not think, gosh, why are they doing this? But just say, this is the best they can do right now. They're doing the best they can do. Everyone, this is my mantra. Everyone is doing the best they can do.
Right.
Even if you're like, I don't think that's the best. It doesn't matter. They're doing the best they can do, and they need your love and they need your support. And the last thing they need to see is shame coming from your face.
Yeah.
They need love and compassion.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying. That's what I tried to do. That's what I'm trying to do. And it definitely, once I could take those things off the table, I could see my boys, I could see this relief.
Yeah.
I could see this relief. And it took a while to help them understand that my love for you is not dependent on what you do or what I thought you should do or my expectations of you. But my love for you is just because you're mine.
Yeah.
God gave you to me, and I'm going to love the heck out of you no matter what. And that is what I try to show them.
Right. And I think you do an amazing job of that. And I know you made a really good point. It took time to get there.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a lot of hurt, a lot of anger. I watched you and Aaron going through this
Yeah.
from a distance, even just
This is
seeing,
10 years. This is 10
it's
years
been
of
10
learning.
years
Yeah.
of learning. And, you know, anyone who's gone through addiction in their family, someone close to them, someone they care about, would completely relate with what you're saying. Because what happens is, and what's cool is, and what I really appreciate about you, Laurie, is that you were willing to put aside your own personal feelings to a point,
Yeah.
to where you could actually look at them and go, I just love you, period.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do, because you want to just go shake them, like, quit doing these things, quit blowing up your lives, guys, and that kind of thing.
And I tried that forever, and it didn't help them.
It doesn't help.
It didn't help them. And then all they felt was they felt more shame, which led to them feeling worse about themselves, which led to more, of abuse, I think, of what they were doing, because they felt bad and they felt, I've disappointed my family. And they know it. They don't need to be told. You don't have to tell them that. You don't have to tell them. They already know.
Yeah.
And I felt like what they need is power. They need empowerment. They need to know, like, hey, you're young. Yeah, you've made some mistakes. You're young. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. I believe in you. You can, and for a while there, I was kind of like, I'm going to do this. And then they're going to go, oh, you were right. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw all this away. And I'm going to do it how you think I should do it.
Yeah.
And then, when they got to be adults, it was easier. It was so hard when they were 14, 15, 16, and they're children in your house, and you're like, you can't do this. And also they're living in the house with little siblings. I mean,
yeah.
And I was so worried for their safety. And then as they got to be adults and they moved out, I just felt like they need love, they need encouragement, they need support. And everyone needs it. That's what I need. Like I told you, I'm a words of affirmation person.
Yeah. I
want that pat on the back. I want that hug of, hey, you're doing a good job. You're hanging in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I just want them to feel that. And I want to say this one great piece of advice that Danny gave me really early on. So I was, calling him in a fearful moment. What if, what if everything is ruined, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, all right, I want you to put all this thought aside. And I want you to picture your boys as 25-year-olds. And what if they're still doing some of the same things they're doing now? What if they don't listen to you and go, okay, never mind? What if they just stay on this exact same path? Are you going to love them? Yes, of course.
Right.
And he's like, okay, then you just love them right now. Don't beat against the wall this whole time. And then finally, with hindsight, look back and go, well, that was sure hard, but I still love you because you're my kid. And I guess now we can move on. Right. He's like, don't wait for 10 years. Don't wait for 10 years to go, that was really hard. I guess I can forgive all of this angst and now we'll be okay. Goes, just do it now.
Do it now.
Just do it now.
Wow. Great
and
advice.
And of course I had to keep reminding myself of that, but that was such good advice. Picture them older, picture them not how you want them to be, but how they want to be. In whatever they're doing, in whatever life they're living, are you going to love them? Whether or not they conform to what you want.
Yeah.
And the answer is definitely yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely yes. Always yes. I can't say that word. Yes, I will love them no matter what. Yeah. And that really helped. Mm-hmm. That really helped to he's like, just get there quicker. Don't beat against the bricks this whole time through this difficult experience. Every hard experience, when you have hindsight, you look back and go, man, that was hard. Yeah. But I learned this and this and this, and I'm alive and I made it through and things are okay. Yeah. He's like, it's going to be okay. Even if it's not what you think it is, it's still going to be okay. Yeah. Get there.
I love it.
Sooner than later and save yourself.
Yeah.
Save yourself this and let your boys see that that's how you feel about them. Don't wait and go, oh, okay, I guess I can get over it now. Just do it now and let them be them and love them anyway.
Wow. And I just had this inspiration as you're talking, honestly. So one of the things I tell my clients constantly who are struggling with drug addiction is that addiction is your wake-up call to your greatness. But I just had the inspiration as you're talking, Laurie. It's also the wake-up call to the greatness that's with those around them that are going through it. Because what you're doing, Laurie, that's greatness in motion, in my opinion. Seeing what you're doing, that's greatness. I love it. It's amazing. And I'm not trying to downplay it whatsoever when I say that.
No.
Because this is not an easy thing. Because whenever we do something great or we are being in that mode of greatness, there was a price to pay to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
that doesn't come by just living an easy life.
Yes.
You can't just float through life and expect to learn and grow and develop. And especially the hardest stuff is what teaches you the most.
Yeah.
You have to go through hard stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you have been through some hard stuff, overcoming cancer, going through addiction in your own family, having 7 kids and just, amongst that. And I wish we had more time to talk about all of that. I mean, we could go on and on and on. But I do want to thank you for being willing to come share that portion of your story along with everything else. You really are an inspiration.
Thank you.
Honestly. I've been wanting you. I've been wanting you on this for a long time, and I'm glad we finally got here.
Yeah. I finally woke up on time.
Yes. She woke up on time. But I want to ask you a couple ending questions here.
Okay.
If you could give any advice to someone who's hearing this right now, who maybe has some kids going through some of the same things, what advice could you give these parents who are going through this? What would you tell them in this moment? And maybe it's the same thing Danny said. I don't know. I love what Danny said, but what would you say?
I think it's really important to remember, I think we feel like we want to lecture our kids and we want to tell them, how bad these things are, drug addictions or alcohol abuse, how bad this is for you. And you want to lecture the heck out of them. Don't you know that this is going to do this and this and this and this? And they are young and they are kind of invincible, but deep down, they do know it's not good for them. And I feel like our desire to parent and teach and try to redirect, at least in my kids' experience, it just brought more shame to them. Mm-hmm. And they turned more to the things that were harmful to them. Mm-hmm. There was a couple years with both of them that I was worried about suicide.
Sure.
I was worried that they felt so poorly about themselves that it just made everything worse. And so, as hard as this is to say, I mean, I don't know. I've been through the whole thing, and I feel like you try everything to help protect them, but it really is up to them. And I hate to say, gosh, I'm so sorry. You're probably in it for the long haul. I mean, I think some people I see where they're able to just be like, hey, you better cut it out, and I'm going to take everything away from you, and I'm going to ground you, and I'm going to stick you here, and you're going to comply, and you're going to do what I say. And for some people, it works. And I think, well, good for you. You only had to deal with that for 1 year. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
But that wasn't our trajectory. And I kind of felt that way going into it. People kept saying, oh, don't worry. They'll just grow out of it. It's not that big of a deal. They're just teenagers. And I wanted to think that because I'm a really optimistic person, the most ridiculously optimistic, romantic, idealist person you've ever met.
Right.
And I just could tell that just wasn't the path that we were on. And if I acted like that to my kids and I expected I'm going to do this one thing and then they're going to go, okay, never mind.
Right.
I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to smoke weed or whatever.
Right.
It didn't do me any good, and it didn't do them any good. it just wasn't,
Yeah.
it just wasn't where they wanted to be. So I hope I'm not just making someone think, oh, great. But it just has been longer.
Well, you're just being real.
I'm just being
now.
really real.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to just, I'm not putting any expectations of ending. And it doesn't mean that I'm not hopeful. They're adults now and they get to choose how to live. And instead of thinking of the worries or whatever, I just try to think of them as how awesome they are.
Yeah.
And that really, I love them so much. I'm so proud of them. Mm-hmm. And going through those kind of early teenage years of, when we were learning how to cope with all this.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't the best at that at all. And and I want to ask for their forgiveness for not being the best, but I was just a parent who was scared. Right. I look at them now and I just am so proud of who they are as people. They're such good human beings.
Right.
They are so full of love. They're so kind. They're so hardworking. They love their family. They feel comfortable in our home. They know we love them. I feel like from the very get-go, I just felt the most important thing of all was to keep the relationship intact.
Yeah.
That is just that mattered so much to me. I did not want to push them away. I did not want to kick them out. I did not want to kick them when they were down. I just want to be there for them. I want to love them. I want to protect them. I want to protect all of my kids. Yeah. I want every kid to know I love them. I love them no matter what, and I'm proud of them.
Right.
I'm proud of them, and they have taught me so much. I have learned so much about loving, about not judging, about rooting for everybody, and really, truly feeling like wherever anyone is at whatever pathway they are through their trial or life, in that moment, they're doing the best they can, and just to have compassion and understanding. And so for parents out there, I think keeping the relationship is the best idea. It's the best motivator for your children. Mm-hmm. They need to know they're loved. Yeah. They need to know they're loved, that they have a place to come, that you're proud of them. Right. I love what you're doing. I love how hard you're working. I love the relationships you're making with people around you. You're a good person. You're a good friend. You're a good brother. You're a great son. Yeah. And I'm going to take all this other stuff and push it to the side and look at your heart and soul. And I want to just exude love and compassion and understanding for you.
Beautifully said. I couldn't add to that. I do want to say that I love your boys too, and hopefully they listen to this, but I love them. Yeah. I do. And
they're awesome.
There's no judgment whatsoever. And I mean, I wouldn't be good at what I do. I work with people who are struggling in this area every single day, and I've gone through it myself. So I just really beautifully said, Laurie. How would people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you, maybe ask you a question? And then also, how could they get more information on your Great Artist Program? And even if they want to try to get into their elementary school, if it's not already there, what would they do? So
our website is greatartistprogram.com. The YouTube channel, which you can get to from there. So if you're a mom listening, or if you're a parent and you're like, wow, I want my kids to be able to learn how to draw with simple guided drawing, you can go straight to my YouTube, Great Artist Mom. And there's videos right there. They're free, and just put on the iPad while you're making dinner and say, here, start drawing. And then our program, we've got the website, and on that website, there's an email, and it says info@Great Artist Program, but it comes right to me.
Comes right to you. Yeah.
Comes right to me. Yeah. Laurie@greatartistprogram.com comes right to
awesome.
me. And I, of course, I'd be happy to share about the art program, but I also would be happy to, share and love and understand and talk to anybody who needs to, or has struggled with these things, and just
Well, I know you would be, because you love to talk, you love to socialize, you love to make new friends. So anyone hearing this, honestly, take her up on that. Ask her any questions, not just about her amazing program, but her amazing life and how she's dealt with these challenges and how she's risen above it and as she's still going through it. And please reach out to her and ask her any question, because she's an open book and she'll talk your ear off.
That's true.
She really will.
You might regret calling me.
Well, Laurie, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come share this with our listeners. I can't wait to have them hear this in full, and just, the inspiration that will come from this.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me share. I really, really, really appreciate being here, and I really appreciate you and your family.
Thank you.
Not only are you good friends of ours, but I couldn't have gone through this without your help and love and guidance, and especially your love for my boys, and for Aaron and I can't express how much I'm grateful to you for that, and for our families and friends, and I'm also, just as silly as it sounds, I'm so grateful for the experience. You just can't learn. You can't learn really deep, meaningful things like this without a little bit of struggle. And I'm super grateful for what I've learned from all of my children. But from this experience, I'm super grateful to learn what I've learned, to have my eyes opened, and to just have that compassion and understanding for everyone around us. I'm really grateful for everything.
Oh, thank you. I'm grateful for you and your family and your boys. If I could ask you to read that quote. It's the same quote I share with my clients, and I've shared it with your boys, and I'm passionate about it, but would you mind reading it?
Yeah, and as I read it this morning, I mean, it applies to everyone.
It does.
You come in here with insecurities. Am I going to say the right thing? Does he really want me on this podcast? And I read this thing and I thought, everyone has something to share. Okay, here's the quote. The most delightful surprise in life is to suddenly recognize there is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
And that's the truth. Listeners, wow, what an amazing story. I'm so grateful that I get to do this, and I sit across from amazing people like you, Laurie. Thanks for sharing. Please share this with anyone you know who may be struggling, if you know a family that has kids who are struggling, or if you know people who want to be an artist and they don't know how to do it, share this with these people, because they will be inspired to move in that direction. So thank you so much, Laurie. Once again, thanks for everything.
Thanks for having me.
You're awesome.
Thank you.
Okay.